Now to a stunning development in a double murder in New Jersey. A police sergeant now facing charges for the way he investigated the murders of a woman and her boyfriend in Franklin Township. This was back in August. Their killer, a state trooper, who then killed himself. Prosecutor now says the sergeant was slow to get to the scene and quickly left the scene without properly investigating. Their bodies not found until the next day.
He harassed her left and right.
CBS News New York has learned Santos worked on Governor Phil Murphy's detail.
Social justice water pipe presents power, protection, corruption, and murder.
Gunshots and also screaming.
But I just heard a bunch of gunshots that sounded very loud.
There were about 7-ish gunshots. We thought we heard some screaming, and then the noises stopped. Hello? It was too weird.
On Friday, August 1st, 2025, 2 people were murdered by a New Jersey state trooper, Ricardo Santos. Santos shot and killed his ex-girlfriend Lauren Semanchik and her boyfriend Tyler Webb at the home of Lauren's in Franklin Township, New Jersey, in a crime that shattered the community and sent shockwaves throughout New Jersey. This is outside Lauren's home in the Pittstown section of Franklin Township the following day, when the bodies were discovered as a result from an inadequate response to 3 911 calls on the evening prior from Sergeant Kevin Bolero of the Franklin Police Department, who instead of driving to the scene of gunshot calls, GPS data of his patrol vehicle showed he decided to head in the opposite direction to make a personal ATM withdrawal at a bank while Lauren and Tyler lay dying from gunshot wounds. Trooper Santos was later found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside his vehicle, a Mercedes SUV parked at Johnson Park in Piscataway, New Jersey, roughly an hour from the scene of the murders in Franklin Township. In this video, we're going to break down just how high-ranking Ricardo Santos was within the New Jersey State Police, and why the level of authority he held makes the failures, the warning signs, and the lack of accountability surrounding the thin blue line and blue wall of silence within police departments and agencies.
An investigation into the murders of a New Jersey veterinarian and her friend led to another investigation into the response to that horrible crime. It found that a Franklin Township cop, now charged with official misconduct and tampering with records, seemed to treat a series of 911 calls with no sense of urgency.
We heard gunshots and also screaming.
3 calls like that one came from neighbors of the home where Lauren Semanchik and Tyler Webb were shot to death the evening of August 1st, allegedly by her state trooper ex-boyfriend. The Hunterdon County Prosecutor's Office today revealing the first call came in at approximately 7:08, reporting gunshots and screaming. Their timeline shows Sergeant Kevin Bolero acknowledges the call from dispatch, but drives 1.5 miles in the opposite direction to an ATM where he makes a transaction. About 5 minutes later, a second 911 caller in the area reports gunshots and screaming. Bolero again acknowledges the call and finally drives to the location without lights and sirens. Approximately 5 minutes later, a third 911 caller reports gunshots and screaming. Bolero acknowledges that call, arrives about 8 minutes later to the location of the first 911 call, speaks to the caller without activating his body-worn camera, then at approximately 7:40 p.m. requests to be cleared from the scene without speaking to the second or third callers. Semanchik and Webb's bodies wouldn't be discovered until the next day by her father, who called the police. The prosecutor's office says in Sergeant Bolero's report from the night before, he falsely stated that he was unable to make contact with one of the callers, was unable to locate the source of the shots, and cleared the scene after approximately 20 minutes, though GPS data and witness statements directly contradict his accounts.
Lauren was a veterinarian whose life revolved around care, compassion, and dedication to help animals in their most vulnerable moments, and supporting the people who loved them. Each day was spent committed to healing and service. Lauren also loved outdoor activities like hiking and kayaking, dancing to music, and enjoyed the thrill of skydiving. Her boyfriend, Tyler Webb, 29 years old, was a volunteer firefighter who held numerous leadership positions within the fire department, including chief engineer, lieutenant, and trustee. Tyler's life was also dedicated to service. He enjoyed classic cars, playing the drums, and spending time with his chocolate lab, Luna. Ricardo Santos was a high-ranking lieutenant within the New Jersey State Police and was a member of the Executive Protection Unit, notably serving on the security detail of the governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, and was also assigned to the agency's Dignitary Protection Unit, responsible for the security of high-ranking state officials. Sergeant Kevin Bolero of Franklin Township Police Department actively avoided making contact with the 911 callers and prioritized personal banking, located in the opposite direction and stopping for an hour-long dinner of pizza slices after prematurely leaving the couple to die slowly inside Lauren's home. The question on everyone's mind certainly needs to be addressed. Did Sergeant Bolero purposely allow time to pass, knowing that Ricardo Santos may have been involved in those domestic violence 911 calls? Many arguments among people eventually subside with no major issues. Perhaps this is what Sergeant Bolero assumed would take place, or is it just an act of random dereliction of duty?
An attorney for the victim's family says they're shocked at Bolero's egregious conduct, but that we believe this to be the tip of the iceberg of the many failures by the local and state police which will be uncovered and which led to the murders of Lauren and Tyler, including, they claim, a voicemail left for the state police from Semanchik herself.
I was looking to file a police report or potentially even a restraining order against my ex-boyfriend who has been harassing me.
Lauren's family tells the news about her fear of Santos and the steps she took, which were ignored by the local and state police.
He needs to have accountability, needs to be taken because he took the cowardly way out by taking his own life.
Semanchik's family tells me it was her father who made the tragic discovery.
She was running away. She was shot in the back.
Family members say Santos had been stalking Semanchik since they broke up almost a year ago after only dating for 3 months.
She tried to block him many times, and he continued to call her from restricted numbers. And he showed up at her work. That's where the car was keyed. He put recording devices in her home, water in her gas tank. He harassed her left and right.
A lot of agencies failed her. She tried to get restraining orders. Nobody called her back. She was failed by every single law enforcement agency that she went to for help.
Lauren reportedly went to the Franklin Township Police Department in May of 2025 to request a restraining order after Santos keyed her car, but she was allegedly told no officers were available and was given a number to call instead. After that voicemail, you just heard that Lauren left with the Franklin Police Department regarding her safety concerns about the restraining order, never received a call back. 5 days after the murders on August 6, 2025, the Hunterdon County Prosecutor's Office takes over control of the Franklin Township Police Department following the double murder-suicide investigation of New Jersey State Trooper Ricardo Santos.
The Hunterdon County Prosecutor's Office has taken control of Franklin Township's police department amid a double murder-suicide investigation involving a state trooper. The prosecutor's office cited serious concerns with the department's operations and also placed the township's police chief and a sergeant on administrative leave. New Jersey State Police Lieutenant Ricardo Santos is said to have killed his 33-year-old ex-girlfriend, Lauren Semanchik, and the man she had been dating, 29-year-old Tyler Webb, before taking his own life. Santos, who was once assigned to protect top state officials, including Governor Murphy, had reportedly stalked and harassed Semanchik for months after their breakup. Her family says she went to local police for help but got little response. In separate statements this week, both the Attorney General's office and a spokesperson for Governor Murphy said they're waiting for results of the investigation before commenting further, but called the situation devastating and a senseless tragedy. The Hunterdon County Prosecutor's Office will oversee operations until further notice.
Lauren's sister Deanna speaks about the way Trooper Ricardo Santos made her feel about his involvement in the relationship. Deanna had plenty of reason to be concerned about the power and protection regarding the blue wall of silence.
I never trusted him because he had access to so much power and he knew exactly how to get away with it.
She believes Lauren might still be here if she'd gotten the help she needed from police.
I just want there to be some accountability for how they failed her.
We need to have a better understanding into what Sergeant Bolero was thinking, as to why he would drive in the opposite direction to make an ATM withdrawal when he was dispatched to the scene of 3 different 911 calls about gunfire. At best, it was total ignorance and a complete disregard for the safety of anyone relying on help after receiving a gunshot wound. And at worst, a possible cover-up of a double murder committed by one of their own. After all, if Trooper Santos hadn't committed suicide, this dereliction of duty certainly would serve as an ample amount of time to regroup and reassess Santos's approach to move forward with an alibi. The blue wall of silence is a recurring theme in police investigations, and it manifests in many ways. Officers refusing to give statements or giving false statements, claiming faulty memory, delaying reports, coordinating narratives, disabling or forgetting to activate body cameras, randomly hitting the mute button to conceal conversations amongst each other, steering the investigations away from fellow officers, and the list goes on and on. Internal affairs units rely heavily on testimony from the very same people implicated, with unions often stepping in to shield officers from questioning, and disciplinary records are frequently sealed from public view. Whistleblowers who break the blue wall of silence can face retaliation, stalled careers, social isolation, or even worse. The blue wall of silence sends a clear message that loyalty to the badge is valued more than loyalty to the law. We'll never know what Sergeant Kevin Bolero of the Franklin Police Department said or did during the interaction with the one person out of the 3 911 callers due to Sergeant Bolero's decision to not activate his body-worn camera against police department policy. Had the Franklin Police Department acted on a restraining order against Trooper Santos, the courts would have enforced the immediate surrender of all firearms, which would have impacted Trooper Santos's police duties. This may have very well been a factor why Lauren's claims and concerns were dismissed without the proper proceedings occurring. Lauren's safety was not prioritized. The protection of Ricardo Santos was. The families of Lauren Semanchik and Tyler Webb publicly announced that they would be filing a lawsuit against multiple law enforcement agencies, including the Franklin Township Police Department, Washington Township Police, and the New Jersey State Police in the wake of the August 1, 2025 double murder-suicide.
The families of Semanchik and Webb are filing suit, alleging that several police agencies failed to step in when called upon for help before the situation turned fatal. I'm joined by senior correspondent Brenda Flanagan, who's been covering the case. Brenda, great to have you in the studio. Where does the case stand right now?
Well, Joanna, the murder of Lauren Semanchik and her date Tyler Webb shocked the public, not just because the alleged shooter served with Jersey State Police. Semanchik reported that after she broke up with Lieutenant Ricardo Santos, her ex-boyfriend harassed her, stalked her, keyed her car. She was frightened, and records show she contacted at least 3 different police agencies asking for help that her family says never came. They're filing a lawsuit against the system they say failed the victims, according to attorney Beth Baldinger.
Complete and utter failure. And failure that took place in the context of police officers being asked to be accountable for the actions of one of their own. It's something that we call the blue wall of silence or the code of blue, in which officers will take care of and protect one of their own. We believe that that is exactly what happened in this circumstance.
Now, records show that Lauren Semanchik reached out to a New Jersey State Police trooper who knew Lieutenant Santos, described what was going on, but that never got reported to Internal Affairs. Apparently, Dr. Semanchik also called Washington Township Police to report that her car had been keyed, but Baldinger says police again failed to follow policy.
Instead of doing what they were required to do, again, contact Santos's supervisors and New Jersey State Police Internal Affairs, what did they do? They actually picked up the phone and they called Santos, a lieutenant, and asked him, did you key Dr. Semanchik's car and damage it? Have you been harassing and calling her? Well, of course he denied keying her car. What lieutenant in the New Jersey State Police Department would admit to committing a crime? Although he did admit to calling her. And what did they do? They told him to back off, to stop calling her so that he did not escalate the situation. Again, they failed her.
Now, Baldinger says Franklin Township Police also didn't take a domestic violence report and instead directed Semanchik to make a phone call. But they never called her back. On August 1st, her neighbors called 911 to report gunshots and screams. Police drove by, but it was Semanchik's father who discovered her and Webb's bodies the next morning. Lieutenant Santos was later found dead of an apparently self-inflicted gunshot. Experts like Professor Leigh Goodmark, who studies cases of police involved with domestic violence, say they're not surprised by how this unfolded.
You hear people talk about the thin blue line as the kind of that camaraderie, that brotherhood among police officers. And because of that loyalty among police officers, they may be less likely to intervene appropriately when someone makes a complaint against one of their fellows.
Now, New Jersey's major discipline report shows that out of almost 540 officers fired, suspended, or retired due to serious infractions last year, just 34 involved domestic violence. In about half the cases, the officers were the perpetrators, but more than a dozen were cited for failing to properly report a domestic violence incident. Goodmark believes that number probably doesn't reflect reality.
They have contact with all of the resources that someone who is subjected to abuse might reach out to. They have contact with all of the shelters. They know where the shelters are. They work with the shelters on a regular basis. They are in courtrooms on a regular basis. And so if you went to a judge and asked for a protective order or asked for a prosecution, these are judges and prosecutors who are working with these officers every day. They are parts of the system that we have entrusted with the safety of victims of intimate partner violence. And because they are parts of that system, it is very, very difficult to protect people whose abusers are police officers.
Now, policy dictates that after a domestic violence complaint's lodged against a police officer, his service weapon is confiscated. That could have made the difference here, Joanna.
Yeah, Brenda, what can you tell us right now about the status of the investigation?
Well, the Hunterdon County Prosecutor's Office has taken control of the Franklin Police Department and is leading the investigation into the case. Both Franklin's police chief and a sergeant are on administrative leave. None of the agencies involved would comment on the case when we asked.
It's really remarkable. What do you know about the family's request from this lawsuit? What are they seeking?
Well, they are asking for compensation for their loss, for their emotional pain. But they're also looking for reform so that this never happens again. Semanchik was a much beloved veterinarian in the area. Tyler Webb was a volunteer fireman. There's GoFundMe accounts to help the families involved. What they would like to be the legacy of these two victims of domestic violence is that no other families have to go through this. Joanna.
I have to ask, is there any indication at this point that the Attorney General's office is going to get involved? Have we heard anything from that office yet?
We have not. I think that the Hunterdon County Prosecutor's Office at this point is leading this investigation.
And do we have any indication as to where they're going with this and whether there will be collaboration between the departments?
They're refusing comment. Right now, I think they are still gathering evidence. We would very much like to have a conversation with them, but it's understandable that they're going to be going through all of the records to make sure in a double homicide that everything is covered.
Brenda Flanagan, senior correspondent. Great reporting. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joanna.